Day 4 of Diddy's trial was supposed to be his comeback. His legal team was ready to dismantle Cassie Ventura's credibility. Their secret weapon, private, explicit text messages meant to prove Cassie was a willing partner, an accomplice, not a victim. But from the moment court opened, the trap backfired on Diddy himself. Cassie walked into the courtroom standing tall, calm, almost icy. Beside her sat her husband, her brother, her mother. No sign of nerves. Across the room, Diddy sat tense, flanked by his mother and sons. His daughter's absence was noticed, loudly. When the private texts flashed on the screen, the defense thought they had struck gold. Love notes, pet names, casual plans for freak-offs, presented to paint a different narrative. But the jury saw through it. Those messages revealed much more than a romantic relationship. They exposed a dynamic of obsession, control, and fear that had replaced love. Cassie remained composed. She didn't deny her past. But with every loaded question, she calmly reframed the facts. No theatrics, no fake humility. In the beginning, I was in love, but everything changed. In the face of her poise, the defense's attacks felt desperate. Diddy, meanwhile, struggled to hide his irritation, whispering to his lawyers, scribbling notes, staring at the screen with mounting tension. The jury took notice, and the harder the defense pushed, the more Diddy's carefully crafted persona shattered before their eyes. What was meant to be his moment of strength turned into a public unraveling. What started as a sharp, strategic cross-examination spiraled into a confusing mess. Hour after hour, the defense lost focus, repeating questions, dragging out endless pages of texts, yet failing to shake Cassie. In the courtroom, frustration grew. Jurors, once attentive, began to drift. Some exchanged puzzled glances. Others stared at their screens, barely reading. Judge Supermanian didn't hide his displeasure. Multiple times he scolded the defense, demanding focus and clarity. "We're not spending 3 days on text messages. Be concise." But the discomfort was obvious. Diddy's lawyer, Anna Maria Esto, stumbled, hesitated, often turning to her team for help. Each awkward pause only highlighted a defense running out of steam. Meanwhile, Diddy kept up his act, passing notes nervously, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting constantly. The once untouchable mogul now looked vulnerable, almost fragile. Cassie, however, remained unshaken. She calmly asked for clarifications, gave context, refused every trap laid before her. Even when confronted with her most explicit past messages, she stood her ground with dignity. "Yes, I loved that man, but some things you never forget." The defense tried hard to paint her as a jealous, manipulative woman. But the more they pushed, the more Cassie emerged as the only composed, credible adult in the room. As the defense struggled and Cassie prepared to leave the witness stand, another name suddenly echoed through the courtroom: Dawn Richard. Former Danity Kane member, longtime collaborator, Dawn is no stranger to Diddy's world. But this time, she wasn't here to talk about music. She was here to reveal what happens behind closed doors, the things Diddy would rather stay buried. Backstage, tension spiked. Whispers spread quickly. If Dawn publicly confirmed Cassie's accounts, the trial would shift dramatically. No longer a matter of he said, she said. It would be a former insider corroborating the abuse. Diddy knew it, his lawyers knew it, and the glance they exchanged at that moment said more than any argument. Dawn Richard could be the witness who seals Diddy's fate. One question hung in the air. Would she reveal what she had seen? Would she dare break the silence around the Combs' inner circle? The judge, pressed for time, demanded the defense wrap up their cross-examination quickly. Cassie would finish her testimony the next morning. After that, Dawn Richard would take the stand. For Diddy, it was the announcement of an inevitable storm. As the day ended, a heavy silence settled over the courtroom. Eyes, once fixed on Cassie, slowly shifted toward Diddy. He was no longer the flashy mogul, the king of the charts, the untouchable hip-hop boss. He was a man alone, sitting in a courtroom, watching his empire crumble, one testimony at a time. The next session promised to be decisive. Cassie would briefly return to wrap up. Then came Don Richard, and maybe others. By then, the defense was scrambling, out of rhythm, out of time. The judge was growing impatient. The jury's focus sharpened, every shift in tone carefully observed. But most of all, the public was starting to turn. This trial had become more than a legal fight. It was a symbol, a reckoning for an era, a system, and a man who once believed himself untouchable. And the more the truth surfaced, the faster the mask fell. Everything he built could vanish, not because of one act, but because of silence, unchecked power, and a truth buried for too long. What comes next remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the Diddy of today is no longer the Diddy of yesterday, and in the courtroom, fame is no longer a shield.